Hi everybody. When you get a bunch of lads together, a bunch of bikers, the subject of the perfect bike will often crop up, or perhaps making your bike the perfect bike. Even though we know it doesn't exist, it's still a good talking point, so let's have a look at it. So, like many of you, when I first started on bikes back in the 70s, when I was a teenager, didn't really worry too much about the perfect bike. If it looked good, if it went well, that was fine. Started on a fizzy, lots of us did. Didn't give a hoot about whether the seat was comfortable, or how high the bars were, what the wind protection was. It was just about riding the bike, nothing else mattered. But as you get older and you go through more bikes, you start to sort of like want particular things. And I think it was probably around about the 2000, 2004, 5, into my late 40s, I started looking at more practical sides of motorcycling because I was travelling a bit further. And comfort, I was starting to feel uncomfortable at certain situations on the sports bikes. So I was looking for a comfy sports bike. And the ZX9 at the time fitted the bill. Roomy seat, highish bars, which were quite wide, and it was deemed as a comfortable sports bike. In reality, it was a touch harsh. It didn't have the plushness of the suspension of my brother-in-law's R1, although the R1 had very low bars and a lot lower than the ZX9. But my friend's 97 Fireblade, that had low bars and not as much room, but overall it actually was a comfier bike. So there's a lot to it when we're looking for the perfect bike. But the thing about looking for the perfect bike is it pushes you on to try different things. If you've got a bike that you're happy with, but you want to make it a little bit more comfortable or to suit your needs, it's good fun adding little bits and pieces. You might change the seat. Lots of people do on the VFR. This has got heli bars on that somebody's changed. Whether I would change the heli bars, if I had standard, I'm not so sure, because I do like the look of the standard bars, and the heli bars just don't look, well, whilst they're well made, they just don't look quite as neat and not as together as the original bars, but nonetheless they do a good job. My ugly looking deflector, as you know, I put on because I did need to get rid of some of that wind blast, but doesn't help with the looks of the bike, but works quite well. So as I say, we're always striving for that perfect situation, even though we know it doesn't really exist. There'll be times when we sort of change our sort of attitude towards our motorcycling. We might travel further, we might start travelling shorter, and that will affect what type of bike we want to choose. And the reason I've stuck with the VFR for 5 years now and likely to stick with it for a bit longer is because it does fit all those needs. It's a high-speed tourer, it's still quite nimble through the twisties, it's quite comfortable, certainly at high speed, what it's designed for, it's very comfortable. It's still a bit risky, as I've mentioned many times, but it just allows me to do what I want to do at this moment in time, and I'm happy with it. So whilst we have these conversations, and lots of people will say, if you only had one bike, what would it be? And there'll be a list there we've got. That could change within a year or so. It could change within 6 months, depending on your particular needs. So I would never say that, although the VFR, I think in the late 90s, the VFR 800 sort of deemed possibly the best bike in the world, because it probably did everything really well and covered most angles. I'm not going to put that accolade on the VFR 1200 as much as you know I love it. It's just that it fits a particular need for me at this time, and lots of other people. It does lots of things really well and impresses in lots of ways. But yeah, I couldn't come up with the perfect bike, I don't think. But it's nice to look for it, isn't it? I like to look at what bikes are available. I like to look at things that might make my biking life easier or more comfortable or better. But as I say, the reality is, just isn't out there, because we all change so much throughout the years. But for me, at the moment, the VFR 1200 is probably as close to the perfect bike for me as you could get. So I'll leave that with you. Thanks again for watching. Bye. Yeah, I forgot to give you an update on this Aoocci C3. Working very well at the moment. I've done, this season I've done 1,700 40 miles, so I've done about 1500 with the Aoocci on. Dropped a signal for about 5 seconds a couple of weeks back, but apart from that, it's working very, very well. I'm really enjoying it. Writing's still a bit small, so if you wear glasses, might be a bit tricky, but overall, yep, I can't complain. Pleased with it. Okay, catch you soon. Bye. Again.